All right, it's always a good day when I wake up knowing that I'm going to be doing a Bad Tab series video. I know a lot of people love these. I think we all grew up with Bad Tab and we learned things the wrong way, so it's really fun to just kind of rant about it once in a while. I took a poll the other day and over 50% of my subscribers said that they love this series the best. And it's perfect timing because I was about to put this one out for the Ride the Lightning book by Metallica. I got this book in junior high. I knew that my teenage metal band was going to play the song Ride the Lightning in the junior high talent show. But because of the book, I made a lot of mistakes that to this day I still make because I've originally learned it out of this book. Now I have to admit, this is not Metallica's worst tab book by far. This is actually a pretty good one. But even a well tabbed out tab book can have a lot of issues. For the page holder today, I'm going to be using the Nancy Wilson shoe again. It's my favorite page holder. She signed it. Supposedly she wore it according to the auction that I got it from. So yeah, we'll go with that. Let's start with Fight Fire with Fire, of course. We're just going to go in chronological order. It's one of my favorite Metallica songs, and it's one of their heaviest, which is funny because the intro is the opposite. It's actually pretty subdued, so when the heavy distortion comes in, it really punches you in the face. But here's a bad sign. Right off the bat, they make a mistake. They say to play the intro, starting with just the open B string. It sounds so weak when you do it that way. Later on, when they loop back to it, they have you play the open G string with it, which is way more accurate. Doesn't that sound way better? And if you want to get really accurate, you can also add bass tones to it. And now the riff we've all been waiting for. So killer. Now I have to give credit where credit's due. Carl Culpepper, who transcribed the book, timed this perfectly. So this part is actually tabbed out right, which is quite the achievement because even to this day, a lot of people count that riff incorrectly, and he timed it out perfectly. The next riff after that, though, is a different story. Here's what Carl says to do. It's actually not that far off. If you play it correctly, there are a couple little details that really make it work. Here's what it's really supposed to be like. See how I did a palm mute in there? And I also did a slide to the F sharp. Instead of just hitting the F sharp, which makes it kind of sound dull. So I'll play both versions a little faster. Here's the book version. And then the more accurate way. Ben Eller does a great lesson on that riff if you want to check that out. The next one might seem like a minor gripe. A lot of these things might be nitpicking, but when you're trying to learn a very difficult song, you need all the help you can get. So the power chords before the solo should go like this. See how they're all kind of bunched together in one area? The book wants us, though, to go up to the 5th fret A and then jump to the 5th string 2nd fret B in a really fast motion, which actually makes things really difficult. So they say to go... See, all that extra movement just makes things way harder than they have to be. The next issue I have is something I'm going to talk about quite a bit today. It's when they take two distinct guitar parts, in this case it's the dual lead solo part, and they mash them together on one staff. It's so annoying to try to read it, and when you're sitting there and you have to keep track of which side of the slash is your part, it really gets old fast because the numbers go from being next to each other to being stacked on each other. It's just insanity. What I used to do is I used to take my own blank tab and I would rewrite it and just do my part so that I didn't have to bother reading all the extra notes, and it helped quite a bit. All right, so I've mentioned a lot in the past about playing Ride the Lightning for the junior high talent show, and we did it and it went off really, really well. The problem is that we played a lot of the parts wrong because of this book. Let's talk about this intro. They have us playing it here. It sounds fine, and that's actually what we did for the talent show. But if you watch Kirk Hammett now, he's actually playing it way up here. It sounds thicker, and it's a lot easier to do the vibrato to make it really sing. Another thing the book neglects to tell you is that you're supposed to hit an open muted E between those notes. The book says that it's supposed to be just the bass doing it, so it says bass arranged for the guitar. But once again, if you watch Metallica, they're hitting that with it. Even if you just listen to the recording, you can hear an open E string being palm muted really hard between the notes. It sounds really powerful. So if you follow the book exactly, it's pretty weak. Compare that to this. So much better the real way. I do have to give credit where credit's due once again to Carl. He got the timing right in the beginning. So the count off, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So good job. Being the lead guitar player in my band, every time I look at tab, I always look to the higher number if there are two notes put together. And so this part in the solo really confused me because they want us to do an octave bend out of nowhere. So this part. That's how it should go. But in the book, they have a higher octave following those bends at the end. So I automatically jumped to the high part, which sounded so wrong. Listen to the recording and tell me if you hear an octave bend there. Just, it doesn't exist in my opinion. So again, this is one of those songs where you learn the solo, you get to the part where there's two guitars harmonizing, and all of a sudden they hit you with this mess. So I'm going to give Carl the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he wanted to do it separately, but they just wouldn't allow him to. All right, For Whom the Bell Tolls is very interesting. I missed the part back in the day where it says bass arranged for guitar, so I always thought the guitar did the first main part. I did that for a long time until I watched Cliff Amal and I saw Cliff doing it. So I'm not going to give the book any crap about that because it does say bass arranged for the guitar. I just missed it. But the following riff is actually pretty insane what they say to do. So it's one of my favorite parts of any Metallica song. But for some reason, the book wants us to play an octave higher. Once again, this obsession with these octaves. So one of the guitars, according to the book, is supposed to go. Luckily, we saw Cliff Amal, and we saw that they were both doing the lower power chords, so we never fell for that one. Here's a really interesting anomaly. They tab out this next part like this. He actually plays it up here, which is a lot thicker sounding, and it's actually easier to play it this way, to be honest. That's why it's so confusing in the book for the next part when they start harmonizing with each other, that they have you play it a really insane way. So at first it starts off correct. See, that makes total sense. But then when James comes in and they play it together, once again, they cram the two parts together. Look at that mess. Now, they did a really good job on Fade to Black. There are just a couple things that are bizarre. During the big, arpeggiated, awesome acoustic part, you know, that part, they did a really good job transcribing that. But the second guitar part really confuses me. Here's what they say. They want you to tap harmonics out like that. This tapping thing just astounds me. If you watch Kirk live, he never does that. Now, as the distortion kicks in during the first chorus, it's really interesting what they have us do. So it's really just an E power chord building up. That part, I don't know why, but the book wants us to do this. And the part that's after that is so bizarre. Followed by two A major chords. And then a lot of this is just full major bar chords. This song is called Fade to Black. It has a very serious subject matter, and playing major chords just kind of ruins the whole vibe. If they just would have transcribed power chords, it would have worked out fine. Once again, making things harder than it's supposed to be, and it's not sounding nearly as good as the real thing. Now, this next part you think wouldn't annoy me so much because it's a little bit slower than the other parts that I talked about, them cramming two parts into one line, but this bugs me for some reason. It's this part. So even to this day, I'm having trouble reading it off the page. I have a memory of my friend Al and I both sitting in front of this tab and we're trying to decipher each one of our parts, and we kept stepping on each other because we're looking at each other's numbers, and it was such a mess. Now, speaking of full major bar chords, one of my favorite parts of Trapped Under Ice, which is the bridge section, gets transcribed that way, and it makes it sound way happier than it should. I mean, the song's called Trapped Under Ice. Come on. Does that make you feel like you're drowning under ice? All right, so with power chords, it sounds awesome. There's a galloping part that's supposed to be the 6th fret of the E string, but they have us also playing the 5th fret of the 5th string, creating this major third sound, which sounds very wrong. Isn't that weird? Sounds more like a Megadeth type of riff now. So it's really just supposed to be this. That sounds awesome. I have a couple of issues with Creeping Death, one of my favorite Metallica songs of all time. In the beginning, they don't bother tabbing out the intro. Which is one of the most epic Metallica intros of all time. Instead, they use their weird notation that they did back then. I don't know why. It looks harder to do it this way than just to tab out the numbers, you know? And sadly, they also do that for the middle section, the breakdown, where it's this. As a beginning guitar player, seeing things like E5, G5, F sharp 5, all that stuff confused the crap out of me because I didn't know my notes at the time. So some of it's my fault, of course, but it would have been nice if they just would have tabbed out those major parts of the song. Now, it seems like the theme of the day is why make things harder than they have to be? That's what this book tends to do. And on this sweep part during the solo, it's actually just a pretty standard sweep. It's really cool, but it's not as hard as the book wants us to do. So if you were to go like this, you're pretty much good to go. So just diddle-a-diddle-a-diddle-a-diddle, 3 notes up, 3 notes down. If you're just starting off doing sweeping, I recommend those 3-string sweeps. It can get you really far and you really get the feel of it. If you look really closely to the tablature though, I don't know why, but they're adding extra notes to throw us off. So here's what the tab says, note for note. Why would you throw all those extra A notes in there? It just makes no sense. And if you listen to the recording and slow it down, they're not in there anyway. It's just supposed to be... And if they're trying to be really detailed, well, they missed the very first thing. Kirk doesn't reach the 17th fret on the recording. Listen to it. He hits the 16th fret. So it's just a little side note, but it's kind of an interesting thing that they didn't catch that, but they added a bunch of things that actually weren't in there. I can't even emulate what they're having us do at full speed. It just feels so foreign to hit all those extra notes. And the last thing I'll talk about with Creeping Death is the crazy pull-offs to the open B string that Kirk Hammett does towards the end of the song. It's really just supposed to be this. They kick back into the intro riff. Now, I have no idea why, but the book has us starting on the wrong note. So they say to go... I don't know if that was just a typo, something just got switched around, but that must have messed with a lot of people because they're like, am I hearing things? I think it's the other way around. All right, well, that was a ton of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. If you have any other suggestions, let me know. I love reading your comments, and I learn a lot from you guys as well, so appreciate it. Okay, everyone, we'll catch you at the next video or the next live stream. We'll see you there. Okay, bye-bye.